Welcome back. This is K24 Alfajiri's Social Hour. And this morning we're discussing the raising of the boy child. And we're asking, has the boy child been neglected at the expense of the girl child? In studio joining us this morning is Pastor Eric Kibuga. And of course the usual suspect, Julius Kimani. And the other...
I'm sitting in for Remy.
Yes. So you're representing the usual suspect.
Yeah, my criminals.
So you'll pardon my low energy today because
I know, yeah. So she's not, Pastor Karibu Sana, she's not usual, she's very chirpy.
Okay.
So, home and I'm like, yes, she
All right.
But that's not an opportunity for you to now
attack
me. So you can be part of this conversation. Twitter is at K24TV. Hit us up on Facebook, K24TV, at Jimmy Gathu, at Resian with the double S, at Remy. I'm so sure she'll be able to respond to one or two of your tweets. At Chega TM, he's also missing in action, but he can be able to cater to your tweets and messages and be part of the conversation. Our SMS line is 20001. So let me start by this question. Do you think the girl child has been over-empowered at the expense of the boy child?
Well, I think, first and foremost, thank you for this opportunity. I think it's just been, it's like there's been a shift. I think if we were to look back at it historically, we'd look at it from where the boy child was enjoying the advantage. And then later on, it's like, of course, emphasis moved now to the girl child. So we're just seeing now, I mean, the other side of the scale has been tipped up. So it's just an issue of balance. But the girl child seems to be having the upper hand now. Yes.
But are you complaining as speaking from a male perspective?
Definitely.
I think there's cause to worry. I think there's cause to worry in terms of and everything from the fathers that we're raising, from the men that we're raising, the capacity for those men to be able to withstand challenges of life, be they from financial to raising a family, to their own personal issues. Okay, and there was obviously a deliberate process to help the girl child, because at that point the girl child was neglected. What we should have done was continue, to prop up the boy child in terms of being good men, good managers, good husbands, good men, good people, so to speak. So when we, set back, so certain things you can't do, certain things you can't say to a girl or to a woman. Maybe there's some areas where we didn't quite define what responsibilities men have and women have in terms of family. Didn't explain it properly, and that's what you're seeing. And I'm sure Pastor can attest to this, and Julius can attest to this in terms of the confusion you're seeing in relationships, in families, in businesses.
But can you really say it's a bad thing to over-empower a woman, considering even to date, with all these calls towards empowering the girl child, equity, equality, they're still not there 100%. There's still so many, like look at that rape incident in Western Kenya. And this is somebody who, the perpetrators of the act are known. But what have they done about it? You're told to slash and just go home. It's acceptable. I mean, this is a man. So I can't really agree that the empowerment of a girl child is actually at its peak. It's not even at 90%. A lot of people, especially from marginalized areas, are still suffering the, what we call this, the effect of looking at the boy child as a superior person as compared to a girl child. Julius.
No, on my perspective, I will say that boys have suffered for a long time. It's only that the statistics are not shown. But if you look back to the days of Pharaoh, it is boys that were killed. In fact,
because they were valued. So for them to feel the pinch, they had to kill those people they valued more.
But you see, they suffered. That's why we are saying we're looking at the pain. Then
it wasn't the girl being killed, it was the boy.
It was the boy being killed. Then when you come to the time of Jesus again, another session of boys were killed. So if we continue to look at today, if you look at the point,
I had a problem.
Look at the wars that have happened. It is the boy that continues to die. In fact, if today a man is knocked down by a car, watasema tu by the jamaa kimegongwa na gari pale. But if a lady is knocked down by a car, and I'm not against women being empowered, they will put bumps in that place, they will raise a concern. Now, you've raised up an issue about the rape that happened. The people who perpetrated it were boys. If they had been empowered about knowing who women are and who they are, they would not have carried it out.
So what we're saying is we don't stop the empowerment of the girl child, but also try to educate the boy child as to the responsibilities that are expected of them.
In fact, that would be much more important. I believe if I look at it in this way, that men are the foundations of the society. And foundations have to be very strong. If the foundations are weak, then everything will crack down. And what we are seeing today, if you look at our jails, 90% are males. If you look at the rape cases, it is the men who are doing it. If you look at all the breaking, if you look at the schools, most of the schools that are rioting, it is the boys. That means there's something that is missing in the aspect of raising boys to be proper men, and there needs to be an address to the boys. If we don't do something right now, our society will begin to collapse because the foundations are wrong.
I also think, you know, on the matter pertaining to what was her name? She has a name. Why do I keep forgetting her name? The lady was raped by 16 men. Those, yes, even though they were men, those are criminals. If we look at crime as crime and not gender it, then things will be different. You know, I mean, for example, what happens to a woman who kills her husband because you know, she wants to inherit property? She doesn't represent the women. She's a criminal.
I know they say
if we look at it that way, then
act.
What we're having now is where all of us on defensive, and we're using examples which really don't define a man or a woman as examples as to why we need to strengthen or punish or, you know, maintain the status quo in terms of affirmative action for women and so on and so forth. Crime is crime.
No, so but those guys, okay, let me look at another example.
So those guys who rape that chick, they should be, you know,
they're criminals.
Exactly. They are not at Jamas.
So should we say members of parliament are criminals?
What?
Should we say the current members of parliament are criminals? Because how
Why?
do you pass a law that says
what do they do?
you cannot share 50-50?
You know what?
Yet, if we are to look at the traditional setting, what is the role of a man? Is to be the head, is to provide. But when it gets to these days where a man wants to keep what is his to himself, yet you have a woman in the house who does A, B, C, D, and E, as it's like we are not a unity anymore. We are not one people. Where you're me, and the child is a one.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
so
what we need to do is to trace back where did this decline start.
Absolutely.
Yes. So that because if we can look at it, I mean, he said that men are the foundation of society, which is very true. If we can be able to trace, because it's not always been this way, but then somewhere there was a lapse, and where we see you used even a word, you said, are the women over-empowered? So how did we get to now where one sector of society, one gender, is now getting to the point of being over-empowered? What's happening to the other person?
I asked it as a question. I didn't say they were over.
So if we were to trace it back in history, because when you look at it, largely society, not just in Africa, has been more patriarchal, so favoring the boy child. And there's a time where you can tell things were running, you know, to some level. They were running well. But then when now we started having more of the girl child being empowered, we begin now to see, I mean, look at the whole, you can see it morally, a decline. You can see it even politically. You can see it economically. I mean, talk of even today, microfinance institutions that are more comfortable giving loans to women than to men.
Yes. Because women are better managers.
But then what caused that?
What caused that?
Something triggered
You know,
it.
spot on, Pastor Kim.
Okay, let me also bring that Bible example that you used. You claimed that before Jesus, men were killed during Pharaoh's time.
It's
and
not
after
claiming
Jesus,
it's there.
Yeah, it is there. I agree. It is there. Yes. So you guys had 2,000 years, more or less, say, since the death of Christ. And during those times, women were really oppressed and stepped on. So probably you should give us another 2,000 years for us to sit on. Then we can be.
But women were stepped on by who?
Do you know what?
No, women were being oppressed in terms of even the cultures that existed during Jesus' time, including.
I debate that though.
Based on what?
I debate that. I mean, look at different scenarios. Perfect example, very simple, the one that he talked about, where it was always the firstborn male, the firstborn male child. Oh my God, Kizungu Kujameli. So it was always that. I mean, there are many cultures, of course. In other cultures, women are held in high esteem. But I think that the issue you need to look at is Why have we become so defensive now? You know, why do you want to protect the genders based on property, based on opportunities, based on positions of responsibility? Because that's where the problem is.
It is because
why is it now that the position as a man, as the head of the family, is in question?
Because those people who were given those responsibilities never acted as they were expected to, or never delivered. I'm looking at the family unit right now. There are a lot of women out there who are providing for their families, not because they have a choice, but because the husband or the head of the house is not doing anything. All they do is to hang out late, you know, drink themselves silly, as in waste their money.
So get laws to stop that? Really?
No. I'm not saying to get laws, but like we're saying, we're trying to draw back to where the problem started. There are quite a number of things to look at. And for as long as that situation will continue to be there, a woman will not sit there and watch things happen. They always try to do something about the situation.
In fact, if I was to bring it, if as you were to say, we have to go back and look at where did this disparity come in. And I see a point whereby, you know, from, as you're saying, the African family has been patriarchal. You know, the boys were well trained, but there has been a lapse of that to that continuity where boys can be able to be raised as boys. We have men who saw their fathers were too harsh, and so they have come to a time where they permit almost anything to happen. So instead of training the boy to become a good man, they actually leave the boy alone. And amazingly, if you throw a seed into a good ground, it is likely to grow without any assistance. Absolutely. If you throw a tadpole into the water, it will become a frog. But unfortunately, a human being cannot be left without guidance and become a proper human being. So we have little boys who have not been trained to be good men, and they end up becoming big little boys. So what we have to go back to is we have to go back to proper training. Where fathers, where we are, if it is Jim who is here, I am here, the pastor is here, we can go back to whereby we become good examples to our boys. Otherwise, if they have no examples to see, then we are going to see the moral decline of the society continue.
So you're saying the training has to start from the smallest unit, which is a family.
Absolutely.
It has to start there.
So if that family fails, whose responsibility is it for the crop of big little boys who are still out there, who are not taking responsibility?
Both the parents.
Both the parents.
But now you see it's already outside the family circle, and it's affecting people who are without the confines of the family.
Right.
Then whose responsibility does it become? Should we say the society's? And who represent the society?
You know, one of the things that has maintained Africa as a very specific or very different continent is the fact that for many years, and even with the advent of new technology or information flow, we still, to a large extent, have managed to maintain our culture, our structure. That has largely helped, okay? And even in this country where you see, you know, people have become, you know, very westernized, don't touch my child, you know, stuff like that. But in some communities, you still find that family unit is still there. In fact, there are no organizations, men who've come out and decided, you know what, in terms of maintaining or reforming that structure, we must do it. Society must go back and look after the children. But let me tell you what, so that is a slow process. It will happen at some point. Tutaiva. But the fact remains that it must start from a unit. It can't start from a huge group. It must start from the unit of the family. Okay, so it must start with the mother and the father of that boy. The mother must teach the boy how to, you know, to appreciate a woman. The father must do the same. There are things the mother can teach the boy that can benefit him as a good man or a good leader or a good manager. The father the same. What we're having now is, siwe ni kijana, so you're the father, you should be, why are you not hanging out with your son? Okay? And then, and those things where the wife is supposed or cannot be able to assist, the father will handle that. And, you know, unless the guy figure it out. But more specifically in terms of if it's my daughter, then, you know, as a mother, I'll take care of my daughter because, you know, that one I have a full responsibility for. So you've lost that control. That's what I was saying. Where did that fight come from?
You see, again, the other thing, Jimmy, is even when you're talking about this mother and father who are raising this
Yes, the
young
boy.
boy or whatever at home, or sons, you find the issue is they themselves, do they have the right values? Do they have the right
Yeah,
information?
so we're going to go way back.
Yes,
then.
you see, because a lot of what we're trying to
We're gonna
deal
go way
with
back.
is just symptomatic, just trying to...
Absolutely.
So that's why you find today there are a lot of organizations that have come up because now we are dumping our children. Okay, we can't help you, so go to this organization. Let
They'll
me
sort
sort
you
you
out.
out.
Yeah.
But see, it's not sustainable in the long run, and that's why I go back to what you said about from the parental.
Has to start from a unit,
yes,
yes.
it has to start from there, and we have to check and ensure that the parents themselves have the right knowledge, right information. I was thinking about this. When a ship is out at sea and they don't know their bearing, where exactly they are going, what do? They must have a compass. So they can't rely on, I think north is this side. You, what do you think? Because that's a lot of what is happening today. What do you think the boy child should be? Wanaume ni kujikaza. How do you... So we end up, you know, a boy shouldn't cry. A man should be this. A man... When you look at it today, that's why we're experiencing what we're experiencing
Absolutely.
today.
So how do we cater for those people who we cannot consider them little boys who now can be exposed to this kind of things that we think will be fundamental in their growth, but people who are already out there, they're grown, but then how do you start telling them, I think as a man, this is what it means to be a man, not your kind of thought as to what it means to being a man? And how do you even get them to listen to you? I remember Jazil and his ministries. But a lot of men, if you mention this to them, will be close to the idea, thinking, I already know what I know, and that makes me a man. How do you reach out to such people?
Now, but one of the things that I will say, like now, this is a forum. I believe there are men who are seated here and are listening and are learning. Also, Pastor being here, the church has to play a major role in training fathers to become good fathers. Because I will give my example. My wife was due, let's say, a week, and I suddenly realized I had no clue of how I'm going to raise this boy who was coming. I call up my friend in Dubai, and he tells me, I've read books on fatherhood. I'm prepared, and I felt like a loser. So a boy comes, and you don't even know what you're going to deal with. And that is a situation most of us are faced with.
Absolutely.
We raise children. Most of us are raising children from the basis of the way our fathers raised them. And they made mistakes. But there are so many books that have been written on fatherhood that men can be able to read. There are so many forums that can be that continue, although they are quiet. That men can be retrained to become better fathers. But I go back and I say the church has to play a major role in raising up better men, bringing out the issues that are happening. And also, there's a need to understand who the boy is and all the stages of development, because what I've discovered is that most of us don't know even what a boy is. We see the energy in a boy, we want to suppress it instead of guiding it in the proper way. Those boys who raped, I don't support what they did. But I believe if that energy was redirected in the right direction, they would have been doing the right thing. But we do not know how to redirect the energy that the boys have. And unless we do that, then we are going to have failure in the society that cannot be stopped. We have situations like 1999.
Yes.
Columbine High School. 2 teenagers, 17-year-olds, killed 12 students and the teacher. And all they said, now, okay, you used to tease us, now you're going to die. We will kill you. I am God, and I know what is true, so you will die. You find it was boys who must have been frustrated by the society. They were teased. We are not saying that they did right, but there was something that was missing in that society. And that is what we have to recreate. I thank God for K24. Because you are doing a great thing on the social hour.
Absolutely.
Thank you very
Pastor, let me ask you, Julius has said something very powerful. Is the church redefining itself in terms of saving the family? Because she has a very powerful question in terms of then how do we resolve this?
Yes.
It seems like all hope is lost. Where do we start from? If the problem was with our parents who didn't quite show us and not saying that they didn't do a good job, and I appreciate what they did, but they, like Julia says, they made mistakes.
Yes.
So is the church now redefining itself to focus on fixing the family, because from there everything else makes sense? Politics, biashara, family,
Yes.
So
Yes. Well, if it's not, it should. But then I would say, but then I would say this. Of course, it has a critical role to play because when you look at it, someone must be able to, hold the compass and say this is the way to go. And of course, I mean, whether we're talking not just the church, but everyone subscribes to one faith or the other, and so you find someone must be there to say what is right and what is wrong, and bring in the whole issue of moral laws and that teaching and emphasis. And of course, from that viewpoint, I totally agree that especially as far as strengthening the church, the family front, because of sustainability.
Yes.
Because you would need something that over the long run, tomorrow you'll have children. You won't just need another seminar. You'll need the people back at home, grassroots level, to be able to have the proper knowledge to be able to raise these people. So, of course, church has a critical role to play, firstly towards the family institution, strengthening that, because that's how it was left open, and society now, I mean, different arms of society took over and said, okay, the girl child has been marginalized, let's take over. And look where it's brought us. And look at how even that, think about this. How come in political meetings and rallies, we have more men? In church, we have more women.
How do you explain that from where you come? Where you
Of
sit?
course, it's from that disparity, something was lost. And so, of course, the whole issue of raising children was left to the mothers.
To the mothers, yes.
So the mothers have to look for some moral compass. So they end up in church
So
with
in
God.
this, from what you have said, you have just faulted the men.
Yes,
Because
I have.
you said the women
Definitely.
sought for something that will give them direction. The
Yes.
men didn't.
They abdicated
so it
their
is
role.
their own responsibility to find their own compass.
Exactly. No one
So it is
can
not
help.
blamed on over-empowering the girl child.
No.
Because it's a choice people
I think,
make.
you know what? I think we used the wrong solution to empower the girl child.
What solution is this that you term wrong,
I
for
think
example?
for us, so if the problem was with the men not handling the responsibility, okay, naturally the women, because women are good managers, no doubt, it's a natural thing. Get the men back into church. So where did that problem happen? Did the church make a clarion call to say, hey men, come back to church? Or did they just say, since women are here, let's just do our thing? So I think we used the wrong solution, because now what you're seeing now is now all of us are tunataka kuchapana, okay? So I'm going to wear my man's trousers.
No,
because
that
I'm
has
the
been
man.
then for
because
the men.
for
It
many
has
years,
been,
that's what happened. The wrong solution.
It has been the wrong solution for the last over 2,000 years.
And look at
not
when
2,000
Jesus.
No, this is where I'm coming from. It has been because even during the times of Jesus, who was the first person, or who are the first people to go check on the risen Christ? It was the women, as compared to the men.
Yeah,
who
it's
actually
natural.
had been-
No,
so men
it's a
have
natural
lost
thing.
that
It's a
compass the
natural-
last 2,000.
No, the men
So
were
you're
keeping-
blaming God.
I'm not blaming God. I am blaming the men.
The men were keeping the boys at home. That's why the
No.
boys.
Women always know where to find their compass.
allow me on this
Hey, hapo
issue
umetuchapa.
to agree with
Niko peke yake.
her, to agree with her that while women may be known to be more of nurturers and maybe
Yes.
they're more
It's a natural-
caregivers
yes.
than men,
Naturally.
but then men are naturally made to be leaders.
Yes.
I believe, looking back at it, if I had the opportunity to rewrite the Bible, if I had, I don't have, but if I had, I would have wanted men to be there. You know why? To me, that expresses a vacuum. It does. Where were the men? Okay, so when the women are looking for truth, what were the men looking for? Where were they? What were they doing? What was more key? What was priority? You see, why were they not there for the fundamental issues?
Exactly.
That's why, even going back to this issue of the boy child, now that I think men have been more negligent or they've abdicated their role, and so someone has to fill in that vacuum.
And I think that's why you
Women
don't...
came in. Why did they come in?
Exactly.
Because men missed something, misplaced priorities.
I think also, because, and it's a given. It's a given. Women have that natural touch to be able to stop and ask, hey, are you okay? And stuff like that. It's a given, all right? And I think right now, in this generation of men who are fathers now, it's simply because they don't know. And it's not natural for them to know. You know what I mean? I mean, what do I do as a father? Because, children come from the womb of the mother. From the instant a child comes out, it's natural for you to take care of. The guy sits back, doesn't know what to do. And that's where we need to start from, and from places like the church. I'm not sure the law can fix men. I'm not so sure the law can fix families. At all, exactly.
And Julius,
I'm also just wondering, Julius, when, for example, because I'm looking for opportunities for guys to be able to engage and learn what or how to be a man. Is it possible to even impart that kind of information when somebody walks up to you and say, "Me, I want to leave this woman"?
Do you know
in a divorce situation? Is that an opportunity?
You see, one thing, I will look at it from this way. I will not fully blame the men 100%, like saying they are not there. I will also partly blame the women and the society, because the man has been called to be the provider. Now, the provision part is that he will only be called a man when he lays the meat on the table. Now, if he doesn't have the meat on the table, he's a wimp. So what do men do? They have spent their times outside looking for what to put on the table, because that is what defines them. And that's what the children will celebrate them for that. The wives will celebrate them for that. But not realizing that the time that is needed by the children is so crucial in bringing up proper boys. And so the term that used to be known, that used to be said, a good family man. When it was defined as a man who would be there with his family, the men will start blaming the other man who goes home early. They call him a wimp because he wants to be with his children. And the women also sometimes are bored when the man come up to home too early, not realizing that this is the good family man. So we need to go back to the old values that used to be there. That a good man is the one that will spend time with his children after work. A good man is the one who will be able to take his son to work with him to see where he gets the money from. And from there, you'll be able to understand the hassles that a man go through. So there is a serious need for changing our perspective towards the way we look at men. Women have to stop looking at men as only the providers, but also as leaders within their home, where they have to create an environment that a man can come home and feel comfortable. Instead of, if a man spends his Saturday afternoon just being with the kids and playing with the kid, suddenly probably the wife tells him, "What are you doing here? Please go out and get milk." And so it spoils everything. So we need to rechange our thinking so that we can be able to build a better society. The foundations have to be laid once again.
Jimmy, what are people saying from the various platforms that we've got?
Okay, I'm waiting for the camera to turn.
All right. So, Eric, probably before we get to Jimmy, you wanted to say something in line with what Jimmy
I think
says.
based on what Julius has said, I just want to say something. I agree with him in part, I disagree with him in part. The part I disagree with him is I don't think while, of course, the women also, of course, may have pushed to a certain extent the men into certain wrong steps that they took. But at the same time, I think it's a responsibility of the man to prove leadership. Yes. I don't think the man should expect, yes, men have traditionally been the providers. But in today's society, even women, everyone seeking to make ends meet. So what the man is doing, the woman is also doing. But the man needs to prove leadership. He needs, let him be the one to take the initiative in showing that, beyond just providing for the family, in terms of their material needs, is also, imparting values. Is also spending time with the children. Is also passing on information, accurate information, raising up a solid family, which is not going to be handed over to him. They need to demonstrate it.
Pastor, hold on to that thought. We've got a call. Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Tell us your name, where you're calling us from, with your question or comment. Hello.
Morning. My name is Polycarp Odongo.
Yes, Polycarp.
I'm calling from Rongo in Migori County.
Yes.
I wanted to understand, this topic is timely because my boy was just born the other day.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I don't stay with them. I work away from home. I wanted to understand, would this strain my relationship with the boy because I only get to meet him once a month? Then number two, The discussion, it's more of the man's responsibility to bring up the boy in the way he wants. I don't know if this means that I should ignore the mom's opinion whenever there is, so that we're able to raise the boy together.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Polycarp. That's actually a very interesting question. Yes. You want to respond to that before you cross over to Jimmy, or you will come back with that? Jimmy, what are people saying?
Interesting thoughts, actually. And I agree with what Pastor is saying, Pastor Kibuga. I said properly, Pastor.
Yes, yes, you did.
Another thing that begins to define men. Remember, we all understand our responsibility as parents because of what we saw our parents do. So that's a very powerful statement, Pastor, and I agree with you there, that we must begin to define the roles of us as fathers and mothers from the house, from when from now, as early as is possible, and begin to go back in terms of, I always call it old school, Resian, that let's not debate in terms of what the responsibility and find out what they are. So a man is a leader, a man is a provider, a man is a defender, and his roles are cut out for him. That should not be in contention in terms of a partner. I'm the one who's going to go out and fend. I can do whatever I can do what you can do. Because those are the things that then when our kids grow up, that's what they're going to see. So if you disrespect your husband in front of your children, that is what they will grow up knowing. To them, it's not disrespect. To them, they think, that's what parenthood is about. So those areas, like we're saying, because you don't have a lot of time, so areas of where we're able to engage in as far as fixing that family is a concern, then those, let's use those as examples. However, let me turn out to what people are saying. Nyoike, the boy child has been left to try life on his own. Very true. Very true. So you make mistakes, next thing you know, by the time you realize, that's how things are done, either kojela or we divorce. David, lots of emphasis is on the girl child. Culture and societal norms has but the boy child to be hardy. I think I understand what you're saying. Ben Kiprono, enyewe, skiza hii story lesian. Enyewe, like me, I started wearing underwear at age of 12. Yani tumeachwa kapsa. Kabiru, more than ever before, boys and girls are presented with equal chances, no more handouts. True. Dogo Minor, the boy child has nobody to turn to other than crime and drugs. Yeah, but they should know that they have somebody to turn to, like Pastor Kibuga, Julius, they're also available. I'm there. Kuna excuse me, watch them. James Jockey, yes, they have less opportunities to explore compared to the girl child. Okay. Kenneth Gitao, even boys are prone to sexual harassment even from big women. True. True. Who's protecting them? Who's speaking out for them? When a boy is raped, do women laugh and say, "Una rape wajina dem kono kumchapa"? What's the reaction? You see what I'm saying? Nyambura Kenya, concentration on girl child made Kenyans forget there was also Adam growing together with Eve. Eva, there is a big problem. I hear we have a phone. Let me take this phone call first. Yeah, I almost said phone like our director. Bad English. We have a caller. Yes, hello.
Hello.
Hey.
This is Benjamin Mwenda calling from Kawa.
Hey, Benji, Sema.
Wow, I've seen the topic today and it's kind of very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Kind of.
And I would like to give my opinion about raising the boy child in the society today.
Right.
What we are lacking today really is mentorship.
Is what?
Mentorship.
Mentorship, yes.
And our little boys, they don't have anybody to emulate or to follow them, to follow their footsteps in.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that as a society we are failing, as leaders we are failing, the fathers are failing, and that is why we are bringing up boys and not men.
Well done. True. True.
We are raising boys instead of raising men. We don't have people that we can count on. The generation that we are having, beginning with our generation, we didn't have people we could follow or look upon. So it is my view that the best thing that we can do is that we sacrifice ourselves. We be there to show them what to do, how to go about it. It is true that a girl child, the world right now is working so much to empower the girl child. But we are forgetting that the boys we have in the houses, they are the leaders of tomorrow. They are the decision makers. I'm not speaking against women, but the fact remains that the place of a man in the society is very important.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. That's powerful. Absolutely. It has to start from everyone, the leaders. Actually, dare I say, must start with the president. Can you imagine if the president did something? Like, just think about it. Think about it. You know, and now, you know, every time he goes to church, yeah, mama, watoi. That's a very powerful statement, by the way. And if you want to fix things, if it comes from that top leadership all the way down, can you imagine the change? Very quickly, Kenneth Gitao. Yes. Ni kama hakuzaliwa aliokotwa, hana caretaker, wasichana wananunuliwa sodo pant kijana at an aibos. Delton. Indeed, in most of our societies we have turned our focus onto the girl child very much. Lastly, Victor Opta. Yes, the boy was neglected centuries ago. Even the elephants, rhinos are far better. I doubt that. No, not true. Not true. We took a short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. This is a social hour on K24 Alfajiri. Gentlemen, before the break, there are two callers. One said, what if you have to try and be a father figure to your son at the expense of going against what your wife thinks should be the way forward? And he says he is a person who walks away from home and gets to see his son once a month. So how can he still get to be that father figure and show example to the boy?
One thing that has been from the development of a boy, 0 to 3 years is a time with the mother. Naturally, the mother has to take care. But you find that 3 years, naturally boys will start pulling away from the mother and start bonding with the father. And if a mother does not understand that pulling away, she may view it as rejection and deny the boy a chance to start getting his masculine identity. And a father also who does not understand that this boy is trying to get a connection with him may miss out on impacting on this boy. So that father who is away needs to know the timings. And also the woman needs to know the timing that at this particular time the boy will tend to. That's the time you're going to the garage and the boy will be like, I want to go with dad.
That's true.
They just want to hang out with dad. And so understanding the processes and the life cycle of boys' development is so important, but it has not been emphasized. It has been missed out because there are certain timings that are very important. And if they are missed out, then it will affect the boy permanently.
It's a good thing that man realizes that there's a problem in his being away when it comes to the effect it's going to have on bringing up of his son. How about those that don't care? You know, I'm trying to make money, so I am busy. You take care of the family. That's why you're home. What happens in such instances?
I think the first thing I would say is it's unfortunate that because of economic reasons, families, parents have to be separated from their families because of, seeking to make ends meet. It's very unfortunate, especially because the sad reality is you can't raise your child by correspondence. It's not possible. There are certain things you can't just expect. I'll write you a mail, I'll call you, and you'll understand. There are certain things, presence is required. Of course, in that situation, because now, sadly, that seems to be the case. Of course, the mother, because like Jimmy had mentioned before, it's not a gender issue of if I'm not there, no one else can do it. But in this scenario, of course, the mother would need to play that role. Additionally, you would still require a male figure. And so that's where the place of different forums, whether from church to even in the workplace, if you have a true man, a guy who's properly aligned, he's reformed, he can be able to play that role. Because, like Julius mentioned during the break, there are still certain things that you would need a man figure to be there to be able to enforce, to be able to impart.
Yes.
Otherwise, the man can come home, find the son is wearing pink, is,
They say real men wear pink. Haven't you seen men wear pink these days? Jimmy, don't you have
that's
a pink
something
shirt?
I'd like us to engage in at another time.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, actually, have a really cool picture.
Yes.
I have a really cool little picture.
So there are still certain things that, of course, in this scenario, what I would say to the caller, the mother will help play in some of those roles, hoping she too has a good understanding of the differences. So don't give the same treatment you gave to your daughter to the son.
Absolutely.
There are differences psychologically, physiologically, and all that. And then, of course, expose that son to the right forums, where he'll be able to see masculinity being modeled in the right way, right values.
Yeah, not take the kids to the bar, or let them see stuff that will be detrimental. Because one of the important things about parenthood is you must define every step of a child's life. Okay, so when you allow, because I remember when I was growing up, we were not allowed to sit in the confines of elders. It was what are you doing in that room where wazes are there smoking and drinking the beer? You were not allowed to. And the moment you were allowed to, it meant something. That has disappeared. Okay, even for girls, you were not allowed to sit. Maybe the girls was a bit different, but at certain ages, you were not allowed to engage into the confines of women. And when you did, it was almost like a bash. We've missed that. Okay, so that's why you find that kids start drinking at 12. In fact, you even find parents giving kids alcohol. He's a boy, he can take it. No, it meant something. Yeah, and that's why you call it abuse
Jimmy,
of alcohol. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And Jimmy, look at it today. What are the implications of that? Where, say, elders have come in, uncles, and all that, and then your parents, say your dad says, okay, children, go out. You have no place here. What are the implications of that in the future? That already is a recipe for, is a recipe for taking away your confidence. So you find you don't feel you have a voice amongst people who are more elderly than you. Then that same guy gets elected into power tomorrow. What do you think that guy is going
What
to
I'm
do?
saying is this. What I'm saying is this, and I see what you mean. What I'm saying is we must explain to the child why, because there's some things you can't talk in front of a child, and you can't do certain things in front. When it gets to an age where it is acceptable, it must be initiated, because then they understand what the different levels are. And that's why, what's the proverbial saying? Don't rush to get old. You want to, seriously, because you learn through it. Circumcision had a reason. That's why, to date, I don't agree with women who circumcise their children straight from birth. Really? No, I want to experience. I experienced circumcision, and my goodness, what a time it was. And I say, and then you don't explain what circumcision means. It's an initiation. Leadership is an initiation. A child is born a leader, yes, but when will he know what are these areas of leadership? So you have to take them step by step by step by step by step. That's what I mean. And that must come back. That's what's lacking. And I remember, Julius, you were mentioning sometime when a child understands what the purpose of discipline is. At first, you won't like it. Discipline is never interesting. But when he understands it, he will know then how to impart that discipline when he's older, when he's a father. He'll be able to explain, you know what you did?
Gentlemen, time is up. Final thoughts on this? Let's start with Julius.
I believe...
I've given my final thoughts, Uncle.
Okay.
I believe we have to come back where, as I said before, where forums, or even if it is not men training men, it is men coming together and sitting down as fathers and discussing what do we need to do. I believe there are men you can see in the society who have raised up successful young men, and we need to sit with such men and ask, how did you do it? Because it did not come by default. Something must have been happening in that family. So we need time to learn from older men. We are, let's say, I am in my 40s. I need time to look at a man who is in his 50s, 60s, and ask a few questions. But if we stand as men and assume that we know everything, then we may end up messing up everything.
First, Diary, very briefly.
All right. I think I would say two things. Firstly, the issues we're having with the boy child are because of issues that, again, go back into history. And when I look at it, what I would say from it is it stems down to two issues. One, loss of identity. When identity is messed up, we are trying, so many things are coming up, so many different definitions, so many different ways we are trying and see this is what a man is, this is what a man is, until we get back our original identity. I think the whole argument is lost. And lastly, we need proper role models. Yes,
Absolutely.
proper role models from the home front. In as much as we have forums, we can't have the tunaomba serikali mentality. No,
True,
from
yes.
home
We have to start
we must
from
be
a
able
unit,
to
yes.
show to our children, show to other guys all around at the workplace how masculinity is supposed to be.
Very well said, gentlemen. I say men should step up to the plate because at the end of the day, when you empower a woman, you empower the entire world. This is a social hour. You're
man.
watching K24 Alfajiri.